Good morning, friends. I'm holding something special while I talk to you today. A letter from my wife that she wrote for me back in 1978. Many years passed by, and I still read every word in the careful cursive. The paper's yellowed and tattered, but her voice comes through as clearly as if she just handed it to me. You know, when was the last time you held something like this? When's the last time someone's handwriting made your heart skip a beat? You know, letters were how we lived back then. When my wife and I were dating, we wrote each other every single day. You know, not because we had to, but because putting pen to paper forced us to really think about what we wanted to say. You couldn't just fire off whatever came to mind and hit send. During my service, letters were a lifeline. Mail call was sacred. Grown men would literally run to get their letters from home. I still have every letter my parents sent me during basic training. My mother's neat script telling me about the neighbors, the garden, and what she was making for dinner. You know, those letters made me homesick and hopeful at the same time. And business correspondence, everything was formal and thoughtful. You drafted a letter, maybe wrote it out again and considered every word. Because once you put it in the mail, that was it. No unsend button, no quick follow-up text saying, "That's not what I meant." Writing a letter was a ceremony. You chose your stationery very carefully. Good paper for important letters and the everyday paper for the casual notes. You can tell by this one here that this was special by the paper my wife chose. Then you selected the right pen. You found a quiet spot where you could think. And there was something about the physical act of forming words with your hand that connected your thoughts to your heart in a way that typing never did. The speed of handwriting matched the speed of careful thinking. You couldn't get ahead of yourself. And waiting for a response, that taught patience. When you mailed a letter on Tuesday, you might get an answer the following Monday if you were lucky. So, when that response came, you treasured it. You read it twice, maybe 3 times, before putting it away carefully. You know, back then, families kept letters. Mothers saved every note their children sent from camp. Wives kept their husbands' wartime correspondence. Love letters were tied with ribbons and stored in some special boxes. You know, I remember this neighbor, Mrs. Henderson. She passed last year. Had a trunk in her attic filled with letters from her husband who died in 1995. After she was gone, her daughter brought me a few to take a look at. She said to me, "My mom read these letters every year on their anniversary." 50 years of marriage history preserved in his handwriting. You could learn about somebody from their letters, how they thought, what they cared about, and their sense of humor. Their handwriting was a personal fingerprint. It was very personal. You knew it was theirs. My father wrote in tight, careful letters. My mother's writing was flowing and artistic. You know who a letter was from before you even read the name. Today, email is efficient, texting is instant, but we've lost something in the translation. We lost permanence. How many of your emails from 5 years ago could you find today? And then I think about it, we lost the intimacy of someone's personal handwriting. We lost the ritual, the ceremony of sitting down, ready to communicate. Most of all, we lost the keepsakes. What are your grandchildren going to save? Screenshots of your text? Your email attachments? Handwriting is a beautiful thing, and it's not too late to save it. Letters still work. Cards still matter. That handwritten note you send your grandson for his graduation, He's going to keep it forever. My granddaughter keeps every birthday card I write to her. Not the ones I buy with pre-printed messages, but the ones where I fill up the blank space with my own words. You know, my very own terrible handwriting. She tells me they're vintage and aesthetic. Apparently, it means something special now. This week, write a letter. Sit down. Write a real letter with a real pen on paper. Tell them something you've been meaning to say. Mail it and watch what happens. You know, next week we're going to take a trip down memory lane. Until then, slow down enough to put your thoughts on paper. Someone you love will thank you for it. Until we meet again, live life beyond your limits. Cheers.